I'm Max.
Hi, I'm Harry.
The Great Gatsby by Francis Scott Fitzgerald. Chapter 6. J. Gatsby was really James Gates, the son of an unsuccessful farmer in North Dakota. He changed his name when he was 17. The same moment, he saw Dan Cody's yacht on Lake Superior. Cody was a 50-year-old multi-millionaire who had made his money in silver and copper. The yacht, represented all the beauty and glamour in the world. He already had a clear idea of the kind of person he wanted to be. And he had probably already invented his new name. He was just waiting for the right moment to start out on his new career. And this was it. He obviously managed to impress Cody because when the yacht left for the West Indies, Gatsby was on it. Cody soon discovered that the young boy was quick to learn and extremely ambitious. He did all the job there are to do on the yacht, and he was also Cody's secretary. 5 years later, when Cody died, J. Gatsby was no longer just an idea in a young boy's imagination. He was a real person. I didn't see or hear from him for several weeks. I was spending a lot of time in New York with Jordan. But one Sunday afternoon, I went to his house. About 2 minutes later, we heard the sound of horses' hooves. And Tom Buchanan arrived. I was a little surprised to see him. He had ridden there with 2 friends, a man named Sloan, and a pretty woman who seemed to know Gatsby. "I'm pleased to see you," said Gatsby, standing on his porch. "I'm delighted that you decided to pay me a visit. I'm sure that they didn't really care if he was pleased or not. They only wanted to rest after their ride." Gatsby knew that too, but Tom's presence made him nervous. He called the butler and ordered drinks. Then he said, "I believe we have met somewhere before, Mr. Buchanan." "Oh, yes," Tom replied. "Right. Obviously didn't remember the occasion." "Yes, I remember it well. About 2 minutes a week ago." That's right. You were with Nick." "I know your wife. Do you?" Tom turned to me. "Do you live near Nick?" "Next door." "We must go now," said Mrs. Sloan. "Come on," he said to the woman. I walked to the porch with Tom. "I wonder where he met Daisy," he said. "Women go out too much these days. They meet all kinds of strange men." Tom was obviously worried about this because the following Saturday night he came with Daisy to Gatsby party. We all walked together among hundreds of people. "Look around," said Gatsby. "You must see many people you have heard about." Tom's arrogant eyes looked round. "We don't go out too much," he said. "In fact, I was just thinking I don't know anyone here." Gatsby took them from group to group. "I've never met so many celebrities," Daisy explained. Daisy and Gatsby danced. Then they walked slowly over to my house and sat on the steps for half an hour. Daisy asked me to stay in the garden in case there is a fire or something like that, she said. Tom appeared from nowhere as we were sitting down to supper together. "Do you mind if I eat with some people over there?" he said. "Amazing, something interesting things." "Go ahead," Daisy said. "And if you want to make a note of something addresses, here's my little gold pencil." She turned around a few minutes later. Tom was sitting with a girl. "Come on, but pretty," Daisy told me. I knew mentioned that except for the half an hour she had been alone with Gatsby, she wasn't having a good time. I sat on the front steps with them while they waited for their car. "Who is this Gatsby?" demanded Tom suddenly. "Some big bookseller?" "Where did you hear that?" I inquired. "I didn't hear it. I guessed it. Lots of these newly rich people are just big bootleggers." He was silent for a moment. "It must be hard work to get such a strange collection of people together at a party." "They are more interesting than the people we know," said Daisy. "You didn't look very interested." "Well, I was," she replied. "I would like to know who he is and what he does," insisted Tom, "and I think I'll find out." "I can tell you right now," she answered. "He owns a lot of drugstores. Their car come out and drive." "Good night, Nick," said Daisy. I stayed late because Gatsby had asked me to wait for him. When he came in the garden, his eyes were bright, but he looked tired. "Daisy didn't like it," he said immediately. "Of course she did." He was silent, and I suggest she was depressed. "I feel far away from her," he said. "It's hard to make her understand." "What do you mean?" He wanted Daisy to go to Tom and say, "I never love you." The last 4 years could be removed with those words. Then, when she was free, they would go back to Louisville and get married, just as he had planned 5 years ago. "She didn't understand," he said. "She didn't understand before, but now she doesn't." He stopped and began to walk up and down. She shouldn't ask too much of her," I suggest. "You can't repeat the past." "Of course you can," he cried. I'm going to fix everything just the way it was before." We walked along about the past that night. He told me about the time he had first kissed Daisy one autumn night 5 years before. He imagined that he could have everything he wanted. He could see then what his life could be like, but his life had been confused and without order since then. He had lost something, an idea of himself perhaps. If he could go back and do everything again slowly, perhaps he would discover what that something was. So we beat on,
both
against the current,
turn back,
born back ceaselessly into the past.
Great Gatsby was really Japanese Gatsby, the son of a successful farmer in North Dakota. He changed his name when he was 17. The same moment he saw Dan Cody's yacht on Lake Superior. Cody was a 50-year-old multi-millionaire who had made his money in silver and copper. To gas, the yacht represents all the beauty and glamour in the world. He already had a clear idea of the kind of person he wanted to be, and he had probably already invented his new name. He was just waiting for the right moment to start out of his new career. And this was it. He obviously managed to impress Cody because when the yacht left over the West Indies, Gatsby was on it. Cody soon discovered that the young boy was quick to learn and extremely ambitious. He did all the jobs there are to do on the yacht, and he was also Cody's secretary. 5 years later, when Cody died, Great Gatsby was no longer just an idea in a young boy's imagination. He was a real person. I didn't see or heard from him for several weeks. I was spending a lot of time in New York with Jordan. But one Sunday afternoon, I went to his house. About 2 minutes later, we heard the sound of horses' hooves and Tom Buchanan arrived. I was a little surprised to see him. He had ridden there with two friends, a man named Sloane and a pretty woman, who seems to know Gatsby. I'm pleased to see you, said Gatsby standing on his porch. I'm delighted that you decided to pay me a visit. I'm sure that they didn't really care if he was pleased or not. They only wanted to rest after their ride. Gatsby knew that too, but Tom's presence made him nervous. He called a butler and ordered drinks. Then he said, I believe we have met somewhere before, Mr. Buchanan. Oh yes, Tom replied politely. He obviously didn't remember the occasion. Yes, I remember it well. About 2 weeks ago. That's right, you were with Nick. I know your wife. Do you? Tom turned to me. Do you live near here, Nick? Next door. We must go now, said Mr. Sloane. Come on, he said to the woman. I walked to the porch with Tom. I wonder where he met Daisy, he said. Women go out too much these days. They meet all kinds of strange men. Tom was obviously worried about this because the following Saturday night he came with Daisy to Gatsby's party. We all walked together among the hundreds of people. Look around, said Gatsby. You must see many people you have heard about. Tom's arrogant eyes looked around. We don't go out much, she said. In fact, I was just thinking I don't know anyone here. Gatsby took them from group to group. I've never met so many celebrities, Daisy exclaimed. Daisy and Gatsby danced. Then they walked slowly over to my house and sat on the steps for half an hour. Daisy asked me to stay in the garden, in case there's a fight or something like that, she said. Tom appeared from nowhere as we were sitting down to supper together. Do you mind if I eat with some people over there? He said. A man saying some interesting things. Go ahead, answered Daisy. And if you wanted to make a note of something addressed, here's my little golden pencil. He turned around a few minutes later. Tom was sitting with a girl. Common but pretty, Daisy told me. I knew that, except for a half hour, she'd been alone with Gatsby. She wasn't having a good time. I sat on the front step with them while they waited for their car. Who is this Gatsby? Demanded Tom suddenly. Some big bootlegger? Where did you hear that? I inquired. I didn't hear it, I guessed it. A lot of these newly rich people are just big bootleggers. He was silent for a moment. It must be hard work to get such a strange collection of people together at a party. They're more interesting than the people we know, said Daisy. You didn't look very interested. Well, I was, she replied. I would like to know who he is and what he does, insisted Tom. And I think I will find out. I can tell you right now, she answered. He owned a lot of drugstores. Their car came up the drive. Good night, Nick, said Daisy. I stayed late because Gatsby had asked me to wait for him. When he came into the garden, his eyes were bright, but he looked tired. Daisy didn't like it, he said immediately. Of course she did. She was silent, and I guess he was depressed. I feel far away from her, she said. It's hard to make her understand. What do you mean? He wanted Daisy to go to Tom and say, I never loved you. The next 4 years could be removed with those words. Then, when she was free, they would go back to Louisville and get married, just as he had planned 5 years ago. She doesn't understand, he said. She understood but now she doesn't. He stopped and began to walk up and down. You shouldn't ask too much of her, I suggested. You can't repeat the past. Of course you can, he cried. I'm going to fix everything just the way it was before. He talked a lot about the past that night. He told me about the time he had first kissed Daisy one autumn night 5 years before. He imagined then that he could have everything he wanted. He could see then what his life could be like. But his life had been confused and without order since then. He had lost something. An idea of himself, perhaps. If he could go back and do everything again slowly, perhaps he would discover what that something was.
So we beat on, both against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past.